Hi friends, back by popular demand, making in front of you. And back by even more popular demand, Ashley. I checked our Mango Mead video last night. Turns out we published it 1 year ago yesterday.
Will you, Ashley?
Mash, the mango mash.
Okay, so
Time flies.
When you're having fun. Okay, so the first thing is 6 pounds of frozen or fresh mangoes, 1 gallon of spring water, 3 pounds of orange blossom honey, specifically McCoy's, an 1/8 teaspoon of wine tannin, a half teaspoon of citric acid. I told you my eyes were
No,
bad.
you're doing great.
Half a teaspoon of pectic enzyme.
Oh, shoot.
Go Firm.
Oh, I know.
And Firmado.
They're all in caps because I forgot to look up the measurements. Please hold.
3.8 grams of Go Firm and 1.5 grams of Firmado.
Times 3.
3 grams of Red Star Premier Classique yeast.
Perfect. Okay, so we're just going to go over a few of these ingredients in a little more detail where I thought appropriate. So for the mangoes, we're using frozen because we're clearly not responsible enough to handle fresh mangoes. As she indicated, this is the third freaking time that we're trying to do this. The first time, we included the skins. Turns out that makes it super sour, and I've come to find out there are certain volatile compounds in skins that it could hurt you. So, bad mistake. The second time, I left the fruit out for 24 hours prior to pitching the yeast, and they started to go bad. And
Is that when you had the leak too?
Yep, and they turned it into vomit.
I smelled it right when you opened it.
So this time, we're going to avoid both those mistakes, and it should be great. And if not, I will burn my house down, and I'll never make wine again. Yeah, you can use fresh mangoes, but then you've got to skin them, cut them up, chop them up, all that jazz, which we will be doing later. So now, this is the key. We're adding mangoes in 2 separate increments. Today, we're using the frozen mangoes. Okay, it's pretty simple. But when the fermentation is almost complete, we will be adding 3 pounds of Atalfo mangoes. Now, let me explain why, because I'm sure you're sitting there like, but why, Miles?
I know I am.
These mangoes today are just to get the base mango flavor, because mango flavor is really hard to capture in a wine. Generally, the yeast just ferment out the mango goodness. And so to mitigate that problem, we will be adding mangoes today to get, as I said, the base mango flavor. But then when the fermentation is almost complete, we will add 3 pounds of fresh mangoes, and then we'll be able to capture more of that fresh mango flavor because we add them towards the end of the fermentation, so the yeast won't damage them as much. Does that kind of make sense, Ashley?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you use mitigate in your daily vocabulary?
Do I say it a lot?
I don't know. I feel like I've heard you say it a lot.
Well, Ashley, I say a lot of big words. Okay?
I know.
Honey. Grab it, Ashley. We're using orange blossom honey because orangey flavors, mango flavors kind of go hand in hand. And I think it'll make it a little bit better. But if you want the cheaper stuff, just get wildflower or clover honey. You can get both of those at the grocery store. But we're doing this one, so that's what's happening. Wine tannin. Why don't you explain wine tannin, Ashley?
Well, I don't remember what wine tannin is.
It's okay. I think you weren't around for when I was using wine tannin. It rounds out the flavor taste. Okay. It rounds out the flavor profile. It may taste a little flat if you skip this step. Tannin is that bitter compound, for example, in black tea, which makes it taste bitter and it dries out your mouth. That's a lot of tannin. But tannin in just the right amount, just a little smidgen, gives a fuller flavor profile, right?
Right.
Yeah. Then the citric acid. This is the most prominent acid in mangoes. And so we're just adding in just a little bit to kind of boost the flavor of the mangoes. I also like wines that are a little more tangy. So this is made because I like that. I've come to find out with further research that as mangoes ripen, they become predominantly malic acid oriented. But this is the choice I made, so we're going with citric acid. Now, pectic enzyme. What's that do, Ashley? This is your thing. You're the pectic enzyme girl.
pectic enzyme. It helps with the clarity of the mango juice.
Yes, I'll take all of that. That's
Actually?
basically right.
Oh, good.
Yes. Pectin is that carbohydrate in fruits that binds the cell walls together, right? That fibrous material. And if you ferment with lots of pectin, you risk a residual haze developing in your wine that never goes away with time. And so the pectin enzyme breaks the pectin down, which is essentially what Ashley said.
Yeah, to give it clarity.
Yes.
I remember.
I added a little clarity to your explanation.
Oh.
And then Go Firm and Ferment-O. These are two different yeast nutrients. The Go Firm is for today. We're adding that with some water to our yeast, and we add that into our fermentation today. And the Ferment-O is what you add over the first 3 days of fermentation following today. And they do slightly different things. We'll talk about it a little more in the process section. Does that all sound good, Ashley?
Sounds wonderful, Miles.
All right, so now on to process. Step 1 is to...
Sanitize with Star San sanitizer.
That's right. Get 1/4 of an ounce of Star San, add it to a gallon or 2 of water, and put all your stuff into the bucket. Obviously, add the water to the bucket. That part 2. Then we need to prepare our yeast for fermentation. So you just want to add a smidgen of water to a jar. Put your jar on your scale. Okay, make sure it's tared out, as Ashley would say. We grab the yeast, my dear? Jesus. Okay, we're good. All right, so just, and then get your yeast and pour in 3 grams, which means pour it in until the scale measures 3. And then add 3.8 grams of Go Firm. And then shake it up. Okay, so now that's prepared, you want to let that rehydrate for at least 20 minutes. What you're allowing to happen is the yeast to wake up and to consume bits of nutrients from the Go Firm. And you just let that happen for 20 minutes before you toss it into the really sugar-dense environment of the must. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Jeez. Could you do that louder, please?
You gotta get it all out.
Like, holy crap.
It's not purposeful.
God, did they hear you, like, in China? Next step here, put water into bucket. We're putting 1 gallon of spring water. You could use tap water. If your tap water is good and filtered and tasty, mine's not even close. So we're using what kind of spring water, Ashley?
Ozarka.
Yep, and these are a little under a gallon, so we're using one and a fraction of another. Perfectly done, dear.
Thank you.
Add 3 pounds of honey to your bucket of water. Now to do this, Ashley, would you grab the food scale? So the way I like to do it is turn your scale on, your food scale, put the honey, the jar or jug of honey on it, and so it's 6 pounds and 4.6 ounces. Now because I want 3 pounds of honey in here, I'm gonna keep pouring from here and checking on the scale until it reads 3 pounds, 4.6 ounces. Does the logic add up?
Yeah, I guess so. Awkward angle for me, Miles.
Well, yeah, go ahead and give it some real gusto, Ashley. We don't have all day. All right, so we still need to add just a little bit. A little over. No, wait.
No, that's 4, right?
That's right. Oh, we need, okay, so. Yep, 3 pounds, 5 ounces. Close enough. So just about 3 pounds of honey. And then just stir it all up. Make sure it's thoroughly dissolved. Do we have a problem, Ashley? Now we want to take the initial gravity reading. This will tell us how much sugar is in here. And then with that, you can calculate how much alcohol we can expect from our fermentation.
I like the enthusiasm.
You gotta be enthusiastic, because if you don't care, they won't care.
And next, we'll pour this into the cylinder.
It only came out to 1.08. I would like it before the fruit addition to be at 1.09. So actually, we're not gonna measure it. We're really not. We're just gonna put, we'll plop in here, and I'll stir it, and I'll take another reading. All right, so as you can see from the footage here, it's 1.090. Real happy about that. And as Ashley said, I have a meeting in 45 minutes, so we gotta wrap this up. So we took the gravity reading before the mango addition because mangoes are really pulpy and they would obscure the accuracy. They would obscure the accuracy of the reading. And so we just took it beforehand. And there's honestly not nearly as much sugar in fruit as you think there would be. So 1.09, it's probably close to what the final initial gravity reading will be, even when we add the mangoes. But I think roughly we can say 1.1. That's what we're going to go with. Sound good?
Sounds good.
She's distracting me. I'm forgetting that we're on camera and I'm supposed to tell you what I'm doing. But if you saw what I did, I got a brewing bag, okay? So a little bag that we will put our fruit into. And then I always forget the verb. You pull it, yeah.
I just stretched it across
yes.
the bucket.
We pull it over the edges of the bucket, and then we're going to put our fruit into it. And the bag is just to separate, to provide a barrier for all the fruit pulp and the main wine. It allows the flavors to get extracted and all the juice to flow out. But then once we're done with the fermentation, we grab the bag and we pull out all that pulp and we throw it away. So do what I did here. And now we're going to pour as much of our mangoes in here as we can. Ashley, originally it was 7.5 pounds. But given how much water and honey is in here, we don't have enough space in this bucket for 7.5 pounds of mangoes. So I'm just going to pour in as many mangoes as I can, and then we'll call it. Just pour it in.
Oh, we're barely going to fit this in here.
I know. Oh dear. Look how full that is. You see that? That is not enough space. But we'll make it work. We will make it work. All right. So I'm going to guesstimate that we used 4 pounds of mangoes. And then we have this one here. This one I will use for something else later today because I don't have enough time right now. All right. So you pull it, close off the baggie, tie it off. And now what are we going to do, Ashley?
Mash it with our hands. Mash the mangoes. Mash the mangoes.
And so then just get in there and just mash it up, you know? So for these mangoes, if they're frozen, you may need to heat them up if you're looking to make it right away. Otherwise, you just leave them out until they're thawed. Don't try to ferment frozen, and don't try to ferment too hot either. So you just want them room temperature.
You're squeezing all these mangoes out.
I am the winemaker.
I'm blocking
It's
the
fine.
hole. Yeah, pick out all the chunks, Miles.
These are some dense little chunks. Now we need to add the additives. We're going to start with 1/8 of a teaspoon of wine tannin. So get the 1/8 teaspoon and plop it in. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of citric acid. And then 1/2 teaspoon of pectic enzyme. Okay, finally, the most essential step is to add your yeast to your must. This is the slurry. This is the stuff. Ashley, would you do the honors?
I would love to.
Just stir it up. Something is occurring to me, and I want to take one more gravity reading because we increase. Did you just hiccup? That was a scary hiccup.
Sorry.
We just want to make sure we didn't decrease the gravity too much by adding all that volume of fruit juice. So I'm just going to take one more reading. 1.080. We're just going to add a smidgen of honey. Just get it up there.
We can do more, but I don't want it to be like, that's enough. That's too much honey.
Well, that's fine. We're going to just, it's a little below 1.090, but we're running out of time. So with the fruit and the sugar, blah, 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 1.09. Which means we probably added a total of, 3.5 to 4 pounds of honey. Put lid on. Yeah.
Do you need help?
No. Okay. We're almost done. Now you want to get an airlock, fill it halfway with sanitizer, water, and affix it into the lid of the bucket. Okay? And now it's done. So on to the final section here. The first thing to expect here, as this ferments, is it's probably going to be pretty messy. And as I always do, I filled this all the way to the top. So the stuff is probably going to get into the airlock. And if that happens, you just take the airlock off, dump it out, put fresh sanitizer water in it, and affix it back to the lid of the bucket. It's easy peasy.
You're going to want to push down this bag of fruit once a day to ensure all the flavors are becoming one.
Two purposes to that. Every day, open up the bucket and push down the bag of fruit with a spoon. That is to ensure maximum flavor extraction and also to frustrate any mold-growing bacteria that might exist here. You want to keep it wet so those bacteria can't make mold. And finally, you want to add Firmado 3 different times over the next 3 days. So, like we did with the Go Firm, get a jar with a smidgen of water, put it on your gram scale, weigh out 1.5 grams, shake it up a little bit, and pour it into your bucket. And you just do that 3 times, and then you're good to go. And the Firmado is to ensure a happy and healthy fermentation. It adds a little bit of nitrogen each time you add it as the yeast are actively fermenting. So with the Go Firm and the Firmado, you have a complete yeast nutrient profile.
Yep. Come back for part 2.
Yes, come on back for part 2, where we will rack this several times. We'll add in those other mangoes, and we will bottle it and show you everything you gotta do. But for now, it's all done. Thank you, my dear, for coming in today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Miles.
Of course, watch all of the videos I've ever published. But in the meantime, have a wonderful day.